2020 was a drag. Live performers like drag queens had nowhere to go during the lockdown. However, there is something all drag performers have in common: the natural ability to quickly adapt. This was a haunting reality of the new paranormal.
My guest today is a drag queen who, in 2020, had dealt with more issues than Vogue. But she persisted. Please welcome the terrifyingly talented Miss Shu Mai. Miss Shu Mai, why do you do drag?
I do drag because it is something that is healing for me. My drag has always been about using performance, using makeup, using costume, using drag as a canvas to explore, celebrate, and reclaim all different parts of my identity. As a second generation Asian American, as a child of immigrants, a child of the diaspora, and also as a queer person, it seems like a lot of times that my two identities of being queer and being Asian American can't often occupy the same spaces. You know, there were so many times where I felt like I was, not Asian enough or not American enough, or I'm not allowed to celebrate certain aspects of my culture because of my queer identity. And so drag has really been something that I've learned how to use in order to celebrate that.
Why are drag queens such good swimmers? Because they're very flamboyant. How would you describe your drag style?
I like to think that the four pillars of my drag brand, I guess, are being unapologetically ethnic, being unapologetically sensual and owning my body, cosplay, anime, video game culture. That's all been a huge part of my life and my Asian American experience. And so that is something I also celebrate through drag. And chaotic. My friends like to describe me as controlled chaos. I am a perfectionist, but also I'm wildly stupid. A lot of my numbers involve me going from looking as beautiful and sexy as possible to shoveling an insane amount of food on stage to the point where I nearly choke or give myself lactose intolerance on stage.
Did you know Achilles was actually a drag queen? His heels were killing him. What's the scariest thing about doing drag?
I think the typical answer when people are asked this question in terms of like drag or performing arts is like, it's scary to get on stage and put yourself out there. And that's not something that I've actually ever really been afraid of. I've been a performer. I have a background as a professional choreographer as well. So being on stage is not anything that's really new to me. And in fact, that's something I utilize in my drag a lot as well. I think the scariest part about doing drag is honestly violence. When we step out of the safe spaces of being in a club or being in a queer specific space, it is the risk of being hurt or harassed because of how we present outside. Hate crime rates towards LGBT people have been on the rise in the past few years, especially crimes towards trans women, specifically trans women of color. And, a lot of times people who could either be perceived as trans or, even drag queens outside, you could get harassed for the way that you're presenting, especially if you're in really flashy makeup, wigs, and clothes and whatnot. So for me personally, at the same time, I feel safe and very confident in celebrating myself. At the same time, I'm also very aware that I could get hurt if I'm in drag filling up my gas.
How did you and your community react to the pandemic and the initial restrictive phases of 2020?
So, funny story with this.
Oh, I love funny stories.
For me, one of my biggest projects to date is I host LA's monthly Asian Pacific Islander drag show. It is the first of its kind in Los Angeles. We had been going for about a year. Right as lockdown hit, we were actually supposed to have our 1-year anniversary. We had grown a lot as a show and built a lot of community that did not exist previously in the SoCal area among queer API and queer API drag performers specifically. And so we really wanted to celebrate our 1 year of accomplishment in building community. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we had to shut down and cancel our 1-year anniversary for the safety of our community, which was very, very, very sad. It felt like it felt like we couldn't celebrate our child's first birthday. So it was devastating. And especially at the time, Asian Americans were facing an extremely high rate of prejudice and violence due to prejudices and stereotypes around fueled by the coronavirus pandemic and our government. And that, coupled with the already stress of increased rates of violence towards queer people, for me especially, I didn't want to risk getting hurt anywhere, and I wanted to be able to celebrate and hold space around this time of collective trauma with my community. And unfortunately, we had to cancel. I was really excited about this. We were going to be hosting this event in a historically Asian American enclave, Little Tokyo, with a Asian American nonprofit. And so it was super duper exciting. The venue was going to be so nice. It was like a wedding venue. It was going to be a gala. So we were really, really, really sad. And after taking some time to process, we decided to transition all of our events online to emulate as closely as possible how in-person interactions felt like, and how live performances felt like, and how can we build community and organize during this time.
What's a drag queen's favorite chocolate? Godiva. Get it? Like Godiva, but queens are divas. Godiva chocolate. All right, not all my jokes are going to be winners. Miss Shu Mai, how have you been redirecting your creativity lately?
We might feel a lot of pressure to, while we have downtime, to learn new skills. And while that's necessary, it's also wildly not. It's okay if we're just trying to get by, because that's something that I've been proud of during this time, is just getting by. But I have learned some new skills during this time because I also got injured and couldn't do as much. So I picked up learning how to sew a lot better. I picked up voice lessons, and I've picked up doing video editing more so that way I could really push my numbers to a different level.
I heard through the ether that you are also involved in a lot of activism. I know a lot of constipated activists. They're seriously always trying to start a movement. Tell me about some of your activism experiences in 2020.
I used my platform for activism in 2020 by trying to engage my community in the best way that I can. Obviously, so many things happened in 2020 that are a buildup of systemic oppression, due to our government, due to lack of representation, due to a lack of actual justice. For me, a lot of what really drives my drag is also my background in advocacy. I have a background working in the nonprofit industry. I got my start working in the nonprofit industry, working in an Asian Pacific Islander HIV organization. And so working there actually gave a lot of my identity as an artist and identity as an advocate, because that was a space where not only I was working directly with the injustices and the inequities that were happening with specifically my community, the queer API community, I was not only working with that, but also learning how to advocate for other communities that are also marginalized. During June, we had a few events where we organized fundraisers for the Black Trans Emergency Protesters Fund, and as well as had, during our events, encouraged folks to participate together with us to take tangible actions in support of the BREATHE Act, in support of Black lives, sending letters to senators, signing petitions together, and really enforcing folks that, this is just one exercise that we can incorporate now into our daily lives. So as on top of that, I've attended, local city council meetings via phone to give at least some public comment. I've tried to do as best as I can during this time to take action as an ally, and I try not to use that as in a way where I try to be like, boo, me ally, me good. Allyship is an action. Allyship is not a badge that you wear. Allyship is within the actions that you do, how you put yourself and your body and your resources on the line for marginalized communities that cannot afford to do so.
Wow, Miss Shu Mai, do you ever sleep? Did you hear about the insomniac social justice activist? She was woke as All jokes aside, what you are doing for your community is so incredible. It's so incredible, it's scary. Ooh. What are you looking forward to this year?
I am looking forward to investing in myself more, investing in my health more, whether that is my physical, mental, and or emotional health, as well as investing into my skills. I'm hoping that I can grow as a performer and do looks and concepts and performances that I've been wanting to do, and now I have a bit more connections, resources, and time to actualize them.
Ah, excellent, excellent, excellent. Why did the squirrel judge the drag queen competition? He was an expert at hiding nuts. I kill myself. Miss Shu Mai, guess what time it is? Lightning round! Favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Black Swan. I'm a perfectionist.
Favorite TV theme song?
My favorite TV theme song is the 4th opening of Naruto Fighting Dreamers.
Do you collect anything?
I collect my dog's fur that I brush out of her when her fur is clean. Don't ask me what I'm doing with it. I don't know what I'm doing with it either.
How do you wake yourself up in the morning?
I don't wake myself up in the morning. I barely get up in the morning, and I get up by either sheer luck or awoken by the cacophony of 10 alarms that I ignore.
What unusual or unpleasant smell do you enjoy?
I have 2 answers. 1, the smell of Pokemon cards fresh out of the pack. There's something very nostalgic of that. I think it is very similar to the smell of new video games, but I only buy digital now, so I haven't smelled that. The second is my dog's skull. Doggy heads, they just, they smell really good.
Who is the most famous person you've had a conversation with?
The most famous person I've had a conversation with is Tyra Banks. I was backup dancing for a singer on America's Got Talent, and the footage never made it onto an episode, but backstage I talked to Tyra. She's gorgeous.
What would others say you own too many of?
Like the things I own a lot of people don't know about. I think that people would say that I own too much miscellaneous crafts due to drag. I literally have a bag of boomerangs in my closet. Plastic boomerangs. I used one for one look, and I have 40.
Where was the coldest place you've ever been to?
The coldest place that I have been to and experienced is Washington, D.C. And it was just the springtime, but I made the mistake of walking in like 30-degree weather instead of taking a shuttle.
Would you rather turn into a purple bear or a green spider every time you sneezed?
I would choose a purple bear because I think that if we were talking about turning into size, I think that it would be less dangerous for me to turn into something small than something big. Because what if I was driving? I can't press the brake pedal if I am a spider. I may have 8 legs, but what torque do I have with them? So I think a purple bear would be a little bit better. And also, I think I prefer purple over green. And also, I unfortunately have arachnophobia and can't stand hairy spiders.
Thank you, Miss Shu Mai, for being on this show, and thank you even more for all that you do for the community.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Lonesome, you sexy specter, you. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
My friends, I must ghost you for now. Until next time, goodbye.